There's not knowing, and then there's not understanding. They seem like they would be the same thing, but there is a distinct difference. Not knowing means you have never been exposed to it, you never witnessed it, you never read about it, you barely even heard anybody talk about it. It seems like it's almost made up. That's not knowing. Then there's not understanding. Not understanding is you have the information in front of you. You understand that somebody is expressing something, or you understand that something is trying to be expressed. And instead of trying to learn what you're misunderstanding, that's where the miscommunication comes in if you choose not to care to understand. Now, this is my own belief. This is no one else's. This is just my observation of where when I hear someone say, I don't understand, it's usually in a way where they're saying, I see you. I see that you're logical. I see that you're emotionally attuned. I see that you seem like you're passionate about this thing. I just don't understand because I don't care to understand, or I don't care to like it, or I don't care to want to know. Some people will use this terminology when they actually mean I don't know. And for me, not knowing is much more forgivable because if you don't know, you don't know, right? Until someone says it or until you're exposed to it, and you will not learn something that you don't know about until you're exposed to it. And believe it or not, I know a lot of us feel that people should be exposed to more and should know more, but a lot of people's worlds are very small in a very large geographical area, right? This is how you can grow up in a subsection of the world, and things that other people feel like you should know, you don't know, because in your daily interactions that are conduced through what we call culture and subcultural ideologies that we make up about ourselves, we would have no reason to step outside of those bounds to then go learn and understand what it means, right? So this is where you get people who culturally would be like, I don't get it. I don't understand, because they don't have to. In their world, they do not have to. Everyone has the right in that world to not have to understand someone. But if you don't want to have many disagreements, it's better to just say, this is something that I'm probably not interested in. And that's where you have to learn how to use discernment and empathy when you communicate that with people, because it's okay to think it. There's many a times when I meet someone where I'm like, yeah, they're a lovely person. I know that they're passionate about it, but I don't understand what they're talking about, and I honestly don't care about the topic. So I'm going to listen to them enthusiastically enough to at least show them that I'm engaged and that I care enough about them to listen. Because a lot of times, that's all most people need, is just for you to listen. There's going to be a lot of information that you listen to and engage with that you do not have to actually care about. And a lot of times you say those words, I don't care, people take it many different ways. There's not caring emotionally, and there's not caring logically. The not understanding to me is not wanting to care emotionally. The not knowing is the emotional part, where it's like, how are you mad at me for not knowing? That's just as simple as it goes. So this is why I say it's important to garner empathy. Sympathy is, oh, they're shutting down, I'm shutting down. Now we both not talking. Now nobody's understanding. That doesn't get you anywhere. You have to communicate it. Now there are times where the communication is going to be null and void, which means this is the last time we're communicating. There's nothing much further to go from here. We've had plenty of times and experiences to go over this, and you did not want to rectify that. That's okay. But what I'm talking about is simple conversation that you can have with anybody in any type of agreement or disagreement. It's, are you choosing to understand, or are you choosing to not know? Because for me, if someone doesn't know, I am much, and they're willing to learn, I am much more open to teaching, right? I am much more open to sharing. If they're like, honestly, I don't know, but that sounds interesting. Can you tell me more about it? That's an invitation versus, I don't understand. Well, do you want to understand, or do you want to disagree with what you feel I'm saying? And that's the moment where someone has to be honest to say, actually, I don't understand, because from my perspective, this is how I get it. So what makes you get to this perspective for yourself? And that's when you have the opportunity to then say, oh, there's a correlation here that I was missing. Because I've had this conversation with people, and it's happened before, like a very simple topic when it comes to the police, right? Many people have their own opinion about how they feel about them or don't feel about them. at the end of the day is, can we have a conversation about why we feel this way and still walk away knowing more, but understanding we're still going to have how we feel about what we think we know, right? Does that make sense? That's what I mean by understand. I know what I know, you know what you know. I can listen to try to learn from you and understand, but either I do or I don't. Or I can genuinely don't know, have no answers or thoughts about it before, and I'm open to seeing what you have to say because it might teach me something new. English and language and words are an invention. Remember, they were created by someone else. They also become a spell when you put emotional intent behind it. So this is the part of where I say anybody can break any word down and say it has a meaning, and they be like, that's what it means. And necessarily, that's maybe not what it really means. For me, myself, this is just observational stuff that I notice when I meet people because it does happen. Again, let's bring it back to um, race relations, right? I have met people where I'm not making excuses for them, but ethnically speaking, they're not exposed to any of this, so they wouldn't know. And I've been in situations where I have not been ethically exposed to things that I didn't know. And my eagerness to want to know can come off as insensitive or as somebody who's clout chasing, right? That's where it is our job as individuals to know, am I authentically seeking this out or am I just jumping on a bandwagon of a trend as escapism, right? Because there's many different aspects to that. So if you don't know and you're just doing it because everyone else is doing it as a trend, then yes, you are not authentically living in it. If you do know, but you don't understand why someone's doing it, or you can't understand or comprehend why someone else would do it, that's another invitation to say, okay, well, maybe that's just a cultural thing that they believe in, and I just choose to accept it. We don't have to believe anything that anyone says. We don't have to engage with anything that anyone else does. But it is important to know that many people are going to be coming from a dualistic aspect that is quite polarized, that we are trying to figure out why. Because there are people where they're just like, I don't know why everyone's acting like this. Like, why is everyone so intense? Like, I'm not used to this. And then other people are like, suck it up, buttercup. That's just the way it is. It's always been that way. And it's kind of like, it hasn't always been that way. You got conditioned to be that way, right? To me, that's the side of understanding. I understand that this is a corporate environment. I understand that this is a workplace. So I have to keep a level of professionalism. But I also understand that it's a place of bullying and favoritism. And if I don't act a certain way, I understand that I will not get that promotion or I will not get that opportunity. Unfortunately, that is the reality of the world. Versus I don't know, and you simply go along with it and you learn as you go, and then you decide if it's something that you agree or disagree with. So learning the difference between understanding and not knowing is vital to the spiritual journey because there will be moments where you're going to come conflict with your ego. And your ego is going to block the not knowing side more so than the not knowing side blocking your understanding of what you feel makes you safe now, right? Because if I know that I am confident in my knowledge, I'm confident in my education, I'm confident in my upbringing, and if someone comes along and shifts that ideology of me and says, well, this is what you understand to be true, but this is another truth, and if I can't accept that truth, then my ego is shutting it off and then I won't know. But if I accept that I do not understand everything, but I understand enough, and I can say, okay, they're coming at a different perspective. I don't understand what they're saying because I haven't experienced it that way. Because that's what I'm saying the truth of understanding or not understanding means is I've understand it up into a capacity, but I don't because I haven't learned past it. So I get to choose to learn past it or ignore it. So if I choose to learn past it, the not knowing makes it much more of a, it makes it more naive in a way, but naivety is precious because if you have never actually learned something and you have the opportunity to learn in a protected environment, that's much better than having to learn through trauma and guilt and shame. And that's where most people's not knowing comes from. And then they associate that with, I understand. And then they don't want to go any further than that. And that's where we get trapped in this loop of, say la vie, it is what it is. That's your life, not my life. I don't have to care. You should have to care. Or if they don't know, then that's their fault. That's their problem. As healers, as a healer, I can't be that way with people. But if I do recognize that you genuinely want to learn, I am open to teach. I hope that makes sense. Love ya.